Hey there. So I'm trying to work on improving my camera setup. Um, Tonight's little chit chat. I'm gonna put this into a playlist and we're gonna call it literacy chit chats because tonight we have purebred. It's a 2020 Cabernet Sauvignon from Lodi, California. We'll just read off the back so you can see the bottle. My baby. Are you content with an average wine to simply fill a glass, or do you want to toast life with a robust wine created to exceed expectations? If it's time to savor a singular moment, time for a wine as focused as you are, then it's time for a single varietal. One grape, select, unblended, a pure bread. You guys know I'm Slytherin, so I love a pure breed. I love pure blood. We are talking about literacy tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Oh yeah, that's good. Tonight we are talking about literacy because I know a lot about literacy. Mostly because I spent a lot of time growing up hyper-focused on, my godfather specifically was hyper-focused on my literacy, so I grew up with Hooked on Phonics. That was a part of my nighttime routine. And even raising an infant, Kumon was an integral part of our lives. And when I did poverty research, I conducted an entire sprint that was directly focused on literacy. So I know a lot about the topic, and could probably do a lot to write about it a bit more. I guess I just felt a bit uninspired. I didn't want to write much about it because I felt like I was trying to distance myself from the education community. But we do need to have, well, maybe we don't, but I feel like it is necessary for more Black people to talk about literacy and the lack thereof in our community, because I do feel like more people are joining the conversation around race and class and a Gattacan society and what it means and how they fit into it. So literacy is a really big part of that because independent learning is critical in terms of you being able to understand complex ideas. So the way that it works is someone else who's more familiar with the topic will write it down. They'll write papers about it, and you read those papers and you spend time trying to understand what the person who spent more time on it, the idea that they are trying to convey, and they try to add a lot of context in these papers around it. And so it's this idea of putting a thought in your head onto paper in order to be able to communicate that to someone else. This seems simple, but it's actually not very simple. If you notice, a lot of people on YouTube are creating videos and the title will say I've been watching a few of these, my experience in a PWI. And it will be an hour of them telling a story. And then you listen to the story and you realize it had nothing to do with being at a PWI. It was just some story about a woman who didn't know how to book a plane ticket. So that's a thing. I think even for myself, trying to be a content creator, I am coming across this idea of simplifying complex ideas, or even explaining simple ideas in fewer words to get the point across. And especially like in video, it is interesting because I do monologues where I just, kind of spout out my interpretations of certain things. Or I will read articles from others, and someone else has taken the time to write down their opinions on the ideas, and I'm just reading these aloud. I like this concept because someone else has done the legwork. But I realized that my own reading level is very high compared to most Americans. But I do realize a lot of my audience isn't in America, so for the others of you who are reading this, I actually don't know what your reading level is. If you know, feel free to comment below. Otherwise, I do remember a period when I had come out of art school, and I transferred back to Berkeley High, and when I was at art school, I did not spend virtually any time reading or writing. And that was a really big problem. And I didn't realize how big a problem it was because I felt like I understand all these things about society. I don't need to read someone else's perspective. And oh man, I realized quickly I was wrong. And I didn't understand a lot of people's perspective, and I didn't understand there were so many stories I was unfamiliar with because I wasn't reading. And also I wasn't reading stories of people who are outside of my community. And I think that that is very important. So let's go back to literacy for a moment. The big idea and the big conversation around, we'll start with illiteracy, which is basically this concept of being unable to read. To be illiterate simply means that you don't know how to read. There's this other concept known as comprehension. Now, comprehension is this idea that when you read something, you understand what you're reading. As in, like, it's not just being able to recite the words on the page, but to contextualize the words that you read on the page in order to make them make sense to yourself. First, to make them make sense as in, like, you understand what a sentence is saying. Like, if I say, the cat is orange, you know what a cat is, and then you understand that orange is a color, and then you can put together that this physical cat in the real world, the color of that cat is orange, right? So putting all of that together, if you understood that, you're reading maybe at a kindergarten reading level. Okay, this is good. It's a start. There are quite a lot of poor kids in this country who are in kindergarten who cannot read that sentence. Now, I feel like I've seen both ends of the spectrum. I'm currently working with kids who they're kindergartners reading at a first or second grade level. So they're like way ahead, right? But in the past, especially during my AmeriCorps year, especially in Oakland public schools, there are kindergartners who don't know their letters, they don't know their numbers, and they definitely they're not reading at all. They can't read their own names, they don't know how to spell or write their own names. It's just nothing. It's just, and so there's all of these, like, I guess they're called like pre-reading skills that you'd learn in preschool, or if you just had a parent who was like at home working with you on certain things, you'd be able to, like, A, write your own name, B, recite the alphabet, identify numbers and colors and shapes, and then other things in the real world, right? Just from being alive and like going outside. Now, with the coronavirus and everyone being inside for so long, quite a lot of things happen. Like, poor parents are not at home reading with their kids. And it's not because they don't care, it's because they're at work